In the early days, America was a whisper on the world stage, a fledgling republic, vast and untamed. Its people looked inward, not outward. George Washington, in his farewell, warned against foreign entanglements. His words echoed through the decades. The nation was busy building itself, carving out a life from the wilderness. The great Atlantic Ocean was a formidable barrier. It kept the old world at a safe distance. This was a deliberate choice. A choice for solitude. A choice to focus on the grand experiment of democracy at home. The United States, before the turn of the 20th century, was a land of immense potential. Yet it remained largely aloof from global power politics. Its military was small, its diplomatic reach was limited. The focus was on westward expansion, on industrial growth, on forging a national identity from a diverse tapestry of peoples. European powers saw America as an interesting, perhaps even an admirable experiment, but hardly a rival, not yet. The year was 1898, a date that would mark a subtle yet profound shift. The sinking of the USS Maine in Havana Harbor became a rallying cry, "Remember the Maine." The words ignited a fire. A nation, long content with its continental domain, suddenly looked outward. The Spanish-American War was brief, but its consequences were far-reaching. America, almost unexpectedly, found itself with an empire. Puerto Rico, Guam, the Philippines, these were distant lands, new responsibilities, a new chapter was opening, whether America was fully prepared for it or not. This was America's first significant foray into global affairs, a test of its growing industrial might, a sign of its burgeoning confidence. The war revealed a naval power on the rise. After the Great War, America recoiled. The taste of global conflict had been bitter. President Woodrow Wilson dreamed of a League of Nations, a body to prevent future wars. But the nation, weary of foreign entanglements, turned away. The Senate rejected the League. A sentiment for normalcy swept the land, a desire to return to the familiar comforts of home, to focus on domestic affairs. The Roaring Twenties brought unprecedented prosperity, but also a sense of unease, a feeling that the world beyond America's borders was best left to itself. This period of isolationism was deeply felt. The sacrifices of World War I seemed to many to have been in vain. Europe was still a continent of ancient quarrels. America, it was argued, should steer clear. The Atlantic Ocean once again seemed a welcome barrier. The nation poured its energy into its own economy, into its own culture. Jazz music filled the airwaves, automobiles transformed the landscape, but beneath the surface the world was changing. And America, despite its desire for detachment, could not remain immune to those changes forever. When war erupted in Europe in 1914, America declared neutrality. President Wilson urged his countrymen to be impartial in thought and action. For 3 long years, the nation watched from afar. The conflict seemed a distant European affair, rooted in old rivalries, fueled by imperial ambitions. But the realities of modern warfare and modern commerce made true neutrality difficult. German U-boats prowled the Atlantic. American ships carrying goods and passengers were at risk. The sinking of the Lusitania in 1915 sent a shockwave across the nation. The tide began to turn. Germany's unrestricted submarine warfare. The Zimmermann telegram, a secret proposal for a German-Mexican alliance against the United States. These events stirred public opinion. Wilson, the idealist, framed America's entry into the war in lofty terms. The world must be made safe for democracy. In April 1917, America declared war. The doughboys, as American soldiers were called, began to arrive in Europe. Their freshness, their numbers, their industrial backing would prove decisive. Section 5, forged in fire, World War II and the dawn of superpower status. The uneasy peace shattered on December 7, 1941. Pearl Harbor, a date, as President Roosevelt declared, which would live in infamy. The surprise attack unified a divided nation. America was thrust into a global conflict, a war fought on 2 fronts, a war that would transform America and the world forever. Section 6, the long twilight struggle. the Cold War and global dominance. The ashes of World War II had barely cooled when a new conflict emerged, the Cold War. A struggle not of direct large-scale combat between the two main protagonists, but of ideologies, of influence, of fear. The United States, champion of democracy and capitalism. The Soviet Union, standard-bearer of communism. An iron curtain, in Winston Churchill's memorable phrase, descended across Europe, dividing East from West. This was a global contest, fought with propaganda, with espionage, with proxy wars in distant lands, and with the ever-present threat of nuclear annihilation. America embraced its role as leader of the free world. The Truman Doctrine pledged support to nations resisting subjugation. The Marshall Plan poured billions into rebuilding war-torn Europe, not just out of altruism, but to create stable democratic partners, to contain the spread of communism. NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, was formed, a military alliance that bound America to the defense of Western Europe. This was a profound departure from America's historical aversion to peacetime alliances. The stakes were too high for isolation. The Cold War spurred incredible innovation. Section 7. The Unipolar Moment, Navigating a New World Order. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 was a seismic event. It signaled the beginning of the end for the Soviet Union. 2 years later, the Soviet Empire crumbled. The Cold War was over. America, it seemed, had won. This was the unipolar moment. The United States stood alone as the world's dominant military, economic and cultural force. Some spoke of the end of history, a triumph of liberal democracy. A new era of peace and cooperation seemed possible. The world looked to America for leadership. Navigating this new world order presented its own set of challenges. Without the clear enemy of Soviet communism, American foreign policy had to find a new focus. Regional conflicts, long suppressed by Cold War rivalries, flared up. The invasion of Kuwait by Iraq led to the Gulf War. America assembled a broad international coalition. It demonstrated its ability to project power decisively. But it also highlighted the complexities of maintaining stability in a world no longer defined by bipolar competition. Section 8, Echoes of the Past, Challenges of Today, a Superpower's Burden. The dawn of the 21st century brought a horrific shock. September 11, 2001, terrorist attacks on American soil, the deadliest in the nation's history. The unipolar moment, with its sense of security, was shattered. America responded with force. Wars in Afghanistan and in Iraq. The war on terror became the defining feature of American foreign policy. It was a new kind of conflict against a non-state actor with no clear front lines, no easy victories. The nation was once again tested, its resilience strained. These long wars had profound consequences. At home, they led to increased security measures, debates about civil liberties. Abroad, they strained alliances. They fueled anti-American sentiment in some parts of the world. The economic costs were staggering, the human costs immeasurable. The nation also faced new economic challenges. The financial crisis of 2008 exposed vulnerabilities. It led to a deep recession, and it raised questions about the sustainability of America's global commitments. Section 9, The Shifting Sands, America, China, and the Future of Global Leadership. The most significant geopolitical development of recent decades is the rise of China. From a developing nation to an economic powerhouse, a nation with growing military capabilities and expanding global influence. This ascent presents a new kind of challenge to American leadership, not an ideological battle like the Cold War, but a competition for economic dominance, for technological supremacy, for influence in international institutions. It is a rivalry between two different systems, two different visions of the future. This new era of competition is complex. America and China are deeply intertwined economically, yet they are also strategic rivals. The relationship is marked by both cooperation and confrontation. On issues like climate change and pandemics, global cooperation is essential. But on trade, technology, and human rights, tensions are high. This is not a simple replay of the Cold War. The dynamics are different, the stakes arguably just as high. The shifting sands of global power require careful navigation.